In the last episode, we talked about a mindset shift, moving from musician to creative CEO. Today, we're going deeper, because before systems, before strategy, before anything you build, there's something far more important you need to confront for 2026. Your identity, not your skill level, not your gear, not your resume, your identity. And this is where many drummers will struggle in the coming years. Here's the uncomfortable truth. The world no longer needs just drummers. It needs problem solvers, creators, builders, musicians who understand value beyond performance. Being a great player is no longer rare. Talent has been democratized. Access has exploded. Competition is global. So if your entire identity is built around being hired to play, you're standing on unstable ground. This isn't an insult. It's a reality check. And ignoring it doesn't protect you. It delays the work. Most drummers don't have a skill problem. They have an identity gap. They see themselves as, I play drums. I get gigs. I'm available. But the musicians who will thrive in 2026 see themselves differently. I create value. I solve specific problems. I build things that last. This is the difference between a role and a position. Roles are replaceable. Positions are respected. When your identity is tied only to performance, your value disappears the moment the gig ends. When your identity expands beyond the kit, your value compounds. That's what more than a drummer really means. Here's something most musicians don't want to hear, but need to. The music industry is oversupplied. Too many musicians chasing too few sustainable opportunities. And when supply is high, the value drops. That's why fees stagnate. That's why respect erodes. That's why so many musicians feel stuck. But history shows us something important. When professions become scarce, their value rises. What we're seeing now is a transition. Some musicians will diversify. Some will step away. Some will evolve. And those who stay, those who adapt, build, and expand their identity, will benefit from a profession that regains its weight. This generation may pay the price of transition, so the next generation inherits a stronger profession. That's not failure. That's evolution. So what's the real work for drummers in 2026? It's not just playing better. It's not chasing more gigs. It's asking deeper questions. Who am I beyond the kit? What value do I create that doesn't disappear after a performance? What am I building that can outlive my physical presence? This is where musicians stop thinking like freelancers and start thinking like architects. This is where more than a drummer becomes real, not as a slogan, but as a responsibility. Now, we're going to move from identity to structure. Not tactics, not hacks. Structure. How musicians begin turning who they are into something tangible, repeatable, and valuable. When we say structure, we're not talking about hacks, formulas, or shortcuts. Structure is deeper than strategy. Structure is what holds your identity in place when motivation disappears. Most drummers don't fail because they lack discipline. They fail because they don't have structure. They rely on inspiration, energy, mood, external opportunities. And when those disappear, everything collapses. Structure is what makes progress boring, but inevitable. Structure is the bridge between who you are and what you produce. It's the difference between, I feel like creating, and I create every week. It's the difference between, I want to be respected, and I operate in a way that commands respect. Structure answers questions most musicians never slow down to ask. Where does my value actually live? How does my skill move from my hands into the world? What continues working even when I'm not? If identity is who you are, structure is how that identity shows up consistently. Here's the honest part. Many musicians resist structure because they think it kills creativity. They think structure means rigidity, rules, boxes. But the truth is the opposite. Chaos kills creativity. Burnout kills creativity. Uncertainty kills creativity. Structure doesn't limit expression. It protects it. Structure is what gives creativity a place to land. To understand structure, think in layers, not steps. 1. Internal structure, identity alignment. This is the foundation. Internal structure is when your values, your goals, your decisions are aligned. If you say you want longevity, but your actions chase short-term gigs only, there's no structure. If you say you want freedom, but everything you do depends on someone hiring you, there's no structure. Internal structure means, I know what I'm building towards. Without this, Everything else becomes noise. 2. External structure, repeatability. This is where most drummers struggle. External structure means your output is not random. Your practice isn't random. Your content isn't random. Your growth isn't accidental. You don't wake up asking, "What should I do today?" You already decided. Repeatability is how identity becomes tangible. If nothing in your life is repeatable, nothing is scalable. 3. Value structure, translation. This is the most overlooked layer. Value structure is about translation. How does your experience, your taste, your mistakes, your insights become something useful to someone else? Most drummers stop at having value. Few build systems to translate it. An untranslated value is invisible value. Structure is not busy work. Let's be clear. Structure does not mean doing more, working harder, being constantly online. It means reducing friction. Structure removes decision fatigue. Structure removes inconsistency. Structure removes dependency on motivation. When structure is in place, progress becomes mechanical. That's when things compound. 2026 will not be kind to musicians who rely on vibes, luck, hope, talent alone. The industry is moving toward clarity, positioning, and ownership, whether musicians like it or not. Structure is what allows you to survive slow seasons, outgrow small opportunities, stop starting from zero every year. Without structure, every year feels like a reset. With structure, every year stacks on the last. So here's a quiet challenge. No pressure, no rush. Ask yourself, what exists in my life right now that works without me being present? What reflects who I am even when I'm not playing? What am I building that doesn't disappear when the gig ends? You don't need the answers today, but you do need to start asking better questions. In the next episode, we're going to take this idea of structure and make it concrete. Not theory, not motivation. We'll look at how musicians begin organizing their value, how structure turns into leverage, how drummers stop leaking effort and start compounding it. This is where identity becomes architecture. If this episode stretched you, that's a good sign. Don't rush to act. Sit with it. Because real growth doesn't start with motion. It starts with clarity. This is how drummers stop surviving and start becoming more than a drummer.